all the best sports takes from around the country. Please, if this is your first time visiting, please subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I think it's turning into something really special. I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing ever, please let me know. If you agree with me, then also please definitely let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. I truly see this channel just as much yours as it is mine. And also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps with visibility and really helps with the algorithm. So let's get right to it. We're watching Speak with Acho talking about the Ravens and if Lamar Jackson solidified his MVP. Do you guys remember from last video, Acho said one of the most ridiculous things ever, that, Tua could win the MVP by throwing for like 6 touchdowns and all this nonsense, and said he did it last season against the same exact team. I'm not going to rehash that video. I would definitely recommend watching that video as well because it was absurd. Everything he was saying, and you'll hear me push back and rip him to pieces. And guess what? Every single thing I said in that video turned out to be correct. And every single thing that he said in his clip was completely wrong. Acho be wrong? What a shocker. I make no secrets about it. I do not like Acho. In fact, dare I say, I hate him. He is such a snake in the grass. He's so sketchy. He's so disingenuous. He is a fraud. Sorry, don't mean to come at you too strong. Just how I feel.
Third topic of the day, and it did not matter the down or distance for Lamar Jackson. He was likely getting in the end zone. 18 of 21, 5 passing touchdowns, perfect passer rating, 56 to 19 blouses. Baltimore Ravens lock up the #1 seed in the AFC. Shady McCoy, you have been the most contentious, I will say, about the MVP conversation. All season long, you feel as though no player had really earned that based upon their play outside of Tyreek Hill. Well, Tyreek Hill looks like he will fall well short of that 2,000-yard record-setting mark. Lamar Jackson, he is now dominated as of late, particularly the last 2 games, national audience, Niners, Dolphins. Has Lamar ended the MVP debate?
Yeah, I think he took it over, right? I think that performance yesterday that showed the world that, listen, I am the MVP. And normally with MVPs is the best team in football and the best player on that team. Lamar Jackson's that. We ain't asking questions if he's a game manager or if he's a breakout player. We're not asking. We already know what it is. And another thing about Lamar, he's playing against the top teams and he's dominating them. He went up to the Bay. Woo. Smoked them boys. I didn't even know that was happening. You mean smoked them boys from the Bay. Right? Great defense.
They just say facts.
You come back to the Dolphins, right? Good team. Yep. It is a good team, right?
Yep.
Since Ramsey has came back to the Dolphins, they have the #1 defense.
Talk about
That's what they said.
That's just facts.
Not what they said. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
But Lamar Jackson, he said, huh? He said, what? He took over that thing. Yeah. So when you ask me, like, who's the MVP, it's got to be Lamar. Not by just words, by numbers, and by what he's doing against these good teams. And they got to be the Super Bowl favorites. Think about it. With the Niners,
why are you now so? Because, Shady, for 17 weeks, quite literally, America, for close to 120 days, I have been trying to convince you that it's this quarterback, that it's that quarterback, that it was Dak for a while, that it was Brock. But you forever were
never
like,
Dak.
Nah, Acho, it's got to be Tyreek Hill. Ain't none of these dudes playing well enough. Why now are you so convinced that it's Lamar? I don't disagree with you, but why are you so convinced?
So first of all, Tyreek Hill was about to do something we've never seen before in football, right? Go for 2,000 yards. That got to be somebody to talk about for MVP. So he's not going to get it because he's not going to get to that. Cool. We just go to the quarterbacks. That's the thing they want to praise, the quarterbacks. When you look at them, now that I feel like Lamar he started getting there after after the Niners game.
Yes, sir.
Then, now we're talking about him. He smelled blood in the water. What does he do? He go out there and takes it.
That's right.
And when you look at who he is and what he brings to the game, it's like, even with Brock Purdy, I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Do I think he's an MVP quarterback? No. Do I think he's the best player on that team? No. When I look at Lamar Jackson and that great defense they got over there and the weapons they got on offense, I still think Lamar Jackson's the best player.
So I definitely agree with that. And I think that's how you figure out who the MVP is. Who is the best player and the most valuable player on your own team? Okay, there you go. You have that. Lamar Jackson is clearly the most valuable player to his team. Now, who is the best team in the entire NFL? That would be the Baltimore Ravens. That alone makes you now the MVP of the league. Therefore, it can't be Brock Purdy. It can't be Christian McCaffrey. It can't be Tua. It can't be Tyreek. I mean, it was never going to be Tyreek. Guys, I've said this again and again and again. The Dolphins, I like them. I don't love them. They have yet to beat a good team. The only team that they beat that was even kind of good is the Dallas Cowboys. And that was more about the Dallas Cowboys losing that game than winning. I've said this a million times and people still hate me for saying it. But now that the Ravens destroyed the Dolphins, what's there to say now? You know? So I think Lamar ended the debate last week. You know, I mean, when Christian McCaffrey and Purdy are the two like next up in line for MVP, right? And you have Lamar Jackson destroy them at home. How is there any coming back from that? Like, where was Tua going to magically now steal the MVP from? I mean, yes, technically, if he now destroyed the Ravens, but that was never going to happen because the Ravens because the Dolphins have only beat up on bad teams. All of their wins come from bad teams, and anytime they played a team that was actually good, they lost. That's just the reality of their schedule. That was just the reality of their season. They lost against all good teams, and I don't really even consider the Cowboys a good team, because if you want to say that the Cowboys are a good team, well then they lost to the Eagles, and the Eagles are a bad team. If you say the Eagles are a bad team, you know, so it's like, so which is it? Like, if you want to say that the Cowboys are like a decent team, okay, that's fine. I agree with that, but they're not a great team. They're not an elite team. Okay, so you can't like take that as the Dolphins winning that game as like anything special, because it's not. Lots of teams have beat the Cowboys. Lots of bad teams have beat the Cowboys. So that just is what it is. So this whole idea that Lamar, you know, wasn't already the MVP is kind of absurd, because the Ravens have clearly been the best team throughout the whole season, and they are beating good teams.
When you watch him play against the top teams, he's the best player, not only on his team, but the whole field. You know what? It's crazy. Duke Staley was one of my favorite coaches. He's always say, Shady, I don't want you to be the best running back on the field. I don't want you to be the best offensive player on the field. I want you to be the best player on the field. And when you watch Lamar Jackson against the top teams, that's who he is. And if he's that, how the hell he not the MVP?
I don't know what I can add to that, other than that was a really poor day for the Dolphins. The rough go. Rough go.
Hey, real quick, you think McDaniel had any like jokes after the game? Or was he thinking
Daniel was not.
he kept it serious?
The jokes was done. Then let me move it.
Ass kicking can do that to you though.
That's what that was. I don't know what I can add to that. Everything you're saying is.
Let me move it forward. Let me move the conversation forward then. Lamar Jackson has 24 passing touchdowns, but we count rushing touchdowns. He has 5 rushing touchdowns. He has 29 total touchdowns. I believe, Andy, please correct me if I'm wrong, we have to go back to 2007 to find an MVP to win the award with 30 or less touchdowns. Keep in mind, Lamar Jackson likely will not play next week because the #1 seed is already sealed up. He has nothing to play for. Shady said it so eloquently, you said you don't have anything to add to that. Add something to this. Do either of y'all on the left side have issue with the fact that Lamar Jackson will win MVP or could win MVP or should win MVP with 24 passing touchdowns? For context, when he won it last year, he led the league. When he won it last time, he led the league with 36. And with
No, because this is not stats. The MVP is not based off of stats. Okay? Are stats involved in the process? Yes. But if it was just stats, then it would just be looking at the number. This isn't like baseball where it's like the Triple Crown or something like that, where it's just like, who has the most this, who has the most that, who has the most this, who has the most that, and then there you go. We add them all up, and this guy has more than that guy, therefore he's the winner. That's not the way this works, okay? So again, this is like such an absurd, I hate this topic because, or this question, I mean, because it doesn't actually make sense. Otherwise, we would always just base everyone just off of the bottom line stats. They play different teams. They play different games. The games unfold completely differently. The Ravens aren't asking Lamar Jackson to throw for 5 touchdowns every single game. Not to mention, again, football can have the most misleading stats ever. Because you can have Lamar Jackson can on a drive can be at the 1 yard line, okay, and could throw for 95 yards, like literally, and I don't even mean like a dump off pass. Like he could go to the back of the end zone. Obviously, he doesn't do this, and he can launch it, okay, in the air, and it can go 90 some yards in the air, and the receiver could catch it and then get tackled and then hand the ball off to a running back and they get a touchdown. And Lamar now doesn't get a touchdown. So total touchdowns is nonsense, even rushing touchdowns, because Jalen Hurts has a bunch of rushing touchdowns, and a lot of it is on the tush push, which is a skill set and very awesome and something that I'm a fan of. But at the same time, a 1 yard touchdown is a lot different than, say, a quarterback, 10 yards out, juking, weaving, going in and out, and really showing his athleticism and, getting into the end zone. But again, the tush push itself is a skill set, because just ask any other team who tries to get these 1 yard gains with their quarterbacks and they fail. So it's obviously its own skill set in itself. But I digress. My point of argument is that you can't just look at stats in that regard. It's just not fair. It's so misleading. I mean, again, technically you have these other quarterbacks who have more touchdown passes than Lamar Jackson. Okay, so what are you saying? Do you really think that do you think Dak's better than Lamar Jackson? Do you think Brock Purdy is better than Lamar Jackson? I mean, tell me. Is that who you would really rather have? You rather have Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy over Lamar Jackson? I don't think so. So it's just like an absurd statement to make. Like, clearly Lamar Jackson does so much more. Also, with what he has around him, Brock Purdy has elite weapons around him. Tua has elite weapons around him. And so does, I don't want to say Dak has elite weapons around him, but he has weapons. He has a decent offensive line, and he's got a great wide receiver. Lamar Jackson has like no true offensive weapons. And this one real offensive weapon got injured, Andrews. When you look at the history of Lamar Jackson, and I've said this in a previous video today, is that he has no household names on his team. You can name, for all these other great quarterbacks and these other great teams for that matter, they have household names. Names that like my mom even knows, okay? Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I mean, like, the list can really go on and on and on. Christian McCaffrey, Debo. I mean, like, you're talking about blue-blooded people who are just going to, pretty much as long as they stay healthy and can play long enough, will walk right into the Hall of Fame. Lamar Jackson does not have that. So he is making the most out of what he has relative to any of these other quarterbacks. Without a doubt. That's also what makes him the MVP. If you take Brock Purdy off of the 49ers will still be a really good team and will still be able to compete. You take Christian McCaffrey off the 49ers. The 49ers will obviously not be as good, but they will still be a good enough team. They will still be in the playoffs. They will still make moves. They will still be able to play. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to win it all, but they will still be competitive. You take Lamar Jackson off of the Ravens are not even in the playoffs. They're not even in the playoffs. No question, no ifs, no ands, or buts. Without a doubt. So therefore, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL, should be favored to win the Super Bowl, and the player that makes that all go around is Lamar Jackson, hence the MVP.
With 5 rushing touchdowns. When he won it last time, he had 8. Does that bother you at all that his stats pale in comparison to previous years and to himself?
No, because I think we're having a nuanced conversation finally about the MVP this year. Yes, if you compare numbers year to year, then it's just a statistical award. And we don't really need to get into who's winning or what. It's just, let's just give it to whatever player has the best statistics. But that's not what it is. It's not the best statistical player. It's the MVP. And this year has been a very interesting year in the NFL. It's been a lot about defenses this year. It's the year of the backup quarterback. Players that usually play at a super high level, put up crazy numbers, aren't putting up those numbers this year for multiple reasons. The MVPs last year, the winner of the MVP and the runner-up, were Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, not putting up numbers at all. So it is a very unique year. What I think that Shady said is really the point, though. we had questions about if Brock Purdy is an MVP level quarterback. He is a good quarterback, maybe even great, but he's not even the best player on his team. And Lamar Jackson went head to head with him, and you saw the difference. We saw the difference. And like Shady said, he was the best player on the field. On a field with dogs everywhere, superstars everywhere. And he was the light. And he did that again this week. So it's not so much about statistics. Are you the reason that your team is winning? We know that. No one's arguing that. The defense is incredible, and
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. He is the reason why they are as good as they are, and they are the best team in the NFL right now, and they're destroying teams. The other team that everyone thought was the best team in the NFL was the 49ers, and he picked them apart. And then when, which I disagree with this, when they said the Dolphins are really great and elite, he made the Dolphins look like a college team. So it's really that cut and dry from my viewpoint. But what do you all think? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Lamar Jackson is the MVP? Do you think someone else should be the MVP? How much do you think stats matter? I would love to hear it. Let me know if you agree with everything that I'm saying. Let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the dumbest thing ever, then also please let me know. Let's get into some fights, some discussions, and let's just have some fun. And please do not forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and it's really turning into something special. I truly see this channel just as much yours as it is mine. So please come along, join this journey.